we're trying to get converts. So when they are doing this, they must be trying to get converts too.
Yeah.
So we should go attack them.
Yeah, it kind of comes back to something I've said before too, which is that I don't think a lot of religious people are able to think outside of this template that's been created. This idea that, okay, I as a Christian have a God, I've got a holy book, I've got a Messiah, I've got this creed. So simply what they do with a lot of other people, especially with atheists, is they just take that template and just replace, okay, well, your God is science,
Yeah.
your prophet is Charles Darwin. And it's like, no, that template just doesn't apply. I don't use that template.
It's something I tell theists a lot, is that they try to say that I'm trying to take God off sort of the ladder of power. Like there's a hierarchy, and if you visualize it as a ladder, to them, God is at the top rung. So when we take God, we say there is no God, and we take it off. They seem to think that everybody is sort of promoted up the ladder, and now I'm saying that there's either something else that is in that space, like science or philosophy or psychology, or that man is somehow now God.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is not that that slot on the ladder is empty. I'm saying the ladder ain't that high. It doesn't go up that high. There's no job there to fill.
I think also, I've noticed this with religious people as well, is that there's this weird use of language that they'll use a word that has multiple definitions, and they'll try to, like things like, say, faith.
Yeah.
Where faith, on one hand, you're saying that I basically, let's be blunt, faith is pretending to know something you don't really know. Like, I have faith that this thing exists. And it's like, I don't have evidence, so it's not about me knowing it. It's about, I'm going to pretend to know that I'm just going to go basic on that instead of actually having evidence. Like, I don't need faith to believe that Sam is here, because there's nothing that I need to jump across. There's no doubt that I need to force my way through to have that belief. On the other hand, it's weird because they also try to use the same word faith with trust. Like, oh, well, do you have faith in your friends? It's like, no, that's not the same thing. Yeah. I can demonstrate that my friends exist, and I can give you a pattern of behavior that basically is a chain of evidence for my trust in them.
Faith is a word with more than one definition, and that's a common thing, is that they try to say, like, faith in my friends. They're saying that I have a history with my friends, and I know what they're going to do, and I can fall back on them when I need to, is that they try to conflate that with the same kind of faith that there's faith in God where there's no proof, but I'm going to believe it anyway, and that really, linguistically, these are two different concepts.
They're completely, to a certain extent, you could almost say they should be two different words.
They should be.
That one of them, it's like when I have faith in my friends, it's not that my friends exist.
Yeah.
I know that my friends exist. I never really have to worry about that. And, or maybe
apparently.
Maybe Sam doesn't exist. Okay.
Ow.
Well, now he's just a hand.
Ow.
Okay.
Ow. This is weird.
Just like Harry Potter.
Abracadabra, I'm back.
Okay. So
let's go to emails.
Let's go to emails. Actually, in a lot of ways, this goes right into our first email, the stuff that we're talking about. This comes from Evil Eye.
Is that his real name?
I'm going to assume it's his real name. Because everyone uses their real name on the internet.
Is that? Oh, absolutely. I certainly do.
Evil Eye has to say, oftentimes a theist will argue that proof of God, that love is proof of God, because there is no scientific test that could prove love, and we all know that it exists. How do you explain emergent properties of these truths to people, like the wetness of water or the transparency of glass, including emotions? And what argument might they retort with if they understand emergence and try to use it to explain God? I would straight out say, first of all, love is not an energy field.
No.
It's not. It's an emotion.
As much as I love the Hyperion cantos,
yes,
love is not a fundamental force of the universe so far as the scientific evidence suggests.
It's like when there's a Final Fantasy bad guy,
yeah,
who represents the force of chaos. Chaos is not a real thing like that. And the other thing is things like love. Love is also demonstrable.
Yeah, like you can test for love. You know, to get an fMRI, do an oxytocin level check, which means you're either in love or you're a heroin user or something like that. Or maybe you're in love with heroin.
But you can actually watch the brain go through these, fire off these chemicals.
Yeah.
And the same thing with things like wetness. Wetness is demonstrable. Shove your hand into a bathtub.
Yeah.
That is wet.
That's wet. Is that there's physical proof is that we can do things that if we threw them up in the air and they landed on you, you would notice. Yeah. Is that and the thing is the idea of having to prove that water is wet is sort of a tautologist process anyway, because wetness is sort of the property of liquid that makes liquid a liquid. It's
Yes.
one of the many properties.
But even if love was this energy field, let's say we discovered something like the Force from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Now that is love, and that you can see that you add to it or take from it depending on everyone's emotional states. Like it's some big, thought bubble over everyone's head, like in some Garfield comic strip.
Or The Sims.
Yeah, it's like The Sims, a little heart in there, and it's adding to some big meter up in the sky. Even if you found this, what's the connection to God?
Right.
And really looking at the stories in the Bible, love is not the emotion I most equate with the God described in the Bible.
No.
It's demand for obedience. At least if you're going to talk about the God of the Bible. Somebody might describe, love as just a synonym for God.
Yeah.
But I don't think when most people are talking about God, they're not just using a synonym for another word or an emotion.
I mean, I understand in a family scenario that obedience is sometimes required for things to work when you have children, but there are levels, and I think if we were to judge how God acts in the Old Testament to modern child development levels.
Abraham and Isaac, Jephthah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And, well, we have another call.
we have a call. Timmy from Bellevue. What have you got for us today? Timmy?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
I asked, if you do not believe in God, then do you believe in the devil?
No.
No.
Just like with God, I don't think there's any independently verifiable evidence that a devil exists.
It's the same lack of evidence there is for God is the same lack of evidence there is for the devil.
Or the unicorns, or the Loch Ness Monster, or Bigfoot.
Thank you very much. Happy Halloween.
Hey, happy Halloween to you too. All right.
Wow.
It's nice when somebody's to the point.
It's a friendly drive by Satan.
Yeah. I like when Satan comes out of that.
Yeah, yeah. That was nice.
Yeah, it was probably our youngest caller we've ever had.
I wasn't going to guess, but I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So it's...
But that's basic. This is actually a question we get a lot. Is and there was a clip in that Go show that we watched that we're going to show is if you believe in God, well then you have to believe in the devil. And no, that's not really how it works.
There actually was a debate recently, and it was between, I believe, Dinesh D'Souza on one side and Deepak Chopra on the other. It's just like, don't you love watching a fight where you're just like, well, I want you both to lose. They were actually arguing over whether Satan exists. So there are people who believe in God but not Satan.
Okay.
So
are there people who believe in Satan but not God?
I don't know. If there is somebody out there who does believe in Satan and not God, we'd love to hear from you. Again, we are a live call-in show. Our number is 206-421-5658.
Indeed.
Please, magical Satan people, tell us about your beliefs.
This is something.
But wouldn't Satan just be knocked up to God status at that point?
Ooh.
Or is he just like, Marvel's Thor, where he's really powerful, but he can still lose a fight once in a while?
Well, we do occasionally do these shout-outs to the audience to see if they can get us some information. And most recently, we did one, last time I was up, we did one about whether or not hosts count as carbohydrates or proteins, given transubstantiation. And
We're talking about the Jesus cracker.
We're talking about we're talking about Catholic communion. And we thought, one, we actually got a response on this request, and two, I am dressed perfectly to discuss this issue. We have an image to go with this email. And this email comes to us from Keith F. in Glasgow, Scotland. And he says, "Hi, folks. You were talking about vegan and diet-conscious Catholics in your last episode and thought you would appreciate this. The attached pic was taken at the Cathedral of St. Mary and St. Anne's in Cork in the Republic of Ireland. The sign might as well say that the church doesn't believe in its own doctrine." And there you go. Gluten-free hosts available at the cathedral. And that pretty much counts, is that if transubstantiation is a real thing, it's a doctrine of the faith for Catholicism, is that they really believe that this stuff is transmuted into the body of Christ, which means it turns from a carbohydrate, it turns from grains into human flesh. One, well, ew. Two, that means that it's Atkins positive, celiac people don't need to worry, people with irritable bowel syndrome or dead bowel syndrome don't need to worry because this stuff becomes protein and it's easier for them to digest.
It's kind of weird in a lot of ways. The transubstantiation is such a bizarre belief. And I've actually seen this before. Like I had a friend who refers to himself as a recovered Muslim.
Okay.
He was born in Iran, and he's dating a woman who is, her family is Catholic. I don't think she's a believer or anything. But he went to a Catholic Mass, I believe, for Easter. And they went through that, and he had prepared for the eating the body and drinking the blood of your God part of the thing. And when I talked to him on the phone, he's like, they were talking about eating Jesus and drinking his blood. And I'm like, oh yeah, that. It's weird though, because when you're sort of brought up with that, you don't really realize that as far as the broad spectrum of religions go, that's really, really weird.
It is really out there, yeah.
It is really weird. I don't know of any other major religious denominations that actually talk about eating their deity.
I do wonder, is there an encyclical on this or something like that, that it's okay to have gluten-free hosts because it doesn't... I'd like to actually hear how that argument is put together. I mean, I know why they need gluten-free hosts.
Yeah.
Because it's a cracker, and people with celiac disease and stuff like that would have trouble digesting it. And that's why they have them. And apparently that's why they need them at the cathedral. But that means that, on some level, they understand that the transubstantiation thing doesn't really go. Mm-hmm. And I really wonder how they put that together because, well, the Catholics are good at putting some interesting arguments like that together, and I'd like to see where they go with it. So if you know, a continued shout out, if you know how this functions at the Catholic Church, I'd like to hear it. And thank you, Keith F., for your
I'm thinking it may be a bit of a Schrodinger's cat sort of thing, where it's both a cracker and Jesus at the same time, as long as it's in the stomach.
Okay. So
you have to cut somebody open.
Heisenberg uncertainty food.
Yes.
Okay. We could go on.
Well, we could. Do you want to talk about some Satan?
Talk about some Satan? I think, yeah, we could do that.
Let's jump to Satan.
Let's jump to Satan. I have it here. Okay, this comes to us, again, from the internet. Anyway, I thought I should point out something quick. In a few episodes, you have discussed the topic of Satanism and how it is essentially Christianity. One person specifically, I cannot remember the name right now. You know who said that? Was that you, or was that Casey?
I think it was Casey who said that.
Hey, Casey. I assume you would like to be more intelligible about your answers and much more complete at times, which is why I want to point out that Satanism is not always similar or even a part of Christianity. Such as the Church of Satan, it is an atheist group. I would also call myself a Satanist, but also an atheist.
The guy that we were talking to on the phone at the time was a theistic Satanist.
He was.
But I think it's a yes, we do know the Church of Satan is non-theistic. They are not rational, though.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to note that not all atheists are both rational or skeptical. That these guys do they do take a lot of weird magic-based beliefs.
Yeah.
And aside from the idea that they're just saying, oh, well, I'm going to watch Star Wars and I'm going to root for Darth Vader. Take that. Aside from that sort of angle, I think that most of our criticisms still hold. I do think it's childish and I do think it's contrarian.
But I like a little bit of childish contrarian fun now and again. I mean, I have described the Church of Satan as sort of atheist with a penchant for dinner theater.
And dressing like Ming the Merciless.
And dressing like Ming the Merciless, which, I could do. And I've known a few people who were involved with the Church of Satan now and again. And I thought it was fun. I couldn't take it seriously.
How can you take it seriously? You're going around dressed like Professor Snape.
You could go on about it.
It's like, come on. It's like, okay, Dr. Strange.
I would, I'd go to their events or something like that, but I don't believe it. And the other thing is that the Church of Satan does have a semi-spiritual magical component to it, is that they do believe in some sort of Crowleyistic kind of magic force of will type thing. And that is unproven, and as a skeptic, I can't go with that. There's no evidence for this working. So while they might not believe in God and they might be atheists, they do have a sense of the supernatural in the Church of Satan.
It's kind of like the Raelians in that way. And I've said this a million times before, but I think it's far more important why you believe something than what you believe. So yeah, you're an atheist. So what? You can be an atheist for really stupid reasons. The same way you can be a Christian for really stupid reasons. There's one good reason, and that's evidence. If you can actually back up and show demonstrable evidence, independently verifiable evidence for your claims, there's no reason for anyone else to possibly believe it.
I do think there's perfectly valid reasons to be an atheist without being a skeptic. I think there are valid reasons out there. I mean, there's just sort of the general crisis of faith things where people just realize that the religion they've been following for years doesn't make any sense at all, and go to atheism and say I don't believe in this and I don't believe in religion before they go to anything about skepticism. It's just that on Ask an Atheist, we are also very interested in skepticism. I don't know that everybody involved in the show is a skeptic.